Iisha Scott is a meteorologist for 13 News Now. You can catch her forecast and live reports Saturday and Sunday mornings starting at 6 a.m. and during the week on 13 News Now at daybreak. Before Iisha joined 13 News Now, she was the weekend morning meteorologist at WECT TV 6 in Wilmington, North Carolina, where she covered the city's second largest ice storm on record. She got her start in television at WWBT NBC Channel 12 in Richmond, Virginia, where she was a weather apprentice and fill-in traffic reporter. Iisha received 13 News Now Ricky King Service Award for her coverage of Tropical Storm Hermine. The award presented in memory of former employee at 13 News Now, recognizing people at the station for going above and beyond the expectation of their job and setting examples of excellence for their peers. She also received the Salvation Army Hampton Roads Area Command Doing the Most Good Award. Iisha graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Mass Communications from Norfolk State University. She also holds a Bachelor of Science in Geosciences and Broadcast Meteorology from Mississippi State University. Giving back to the community that gave her so much to her is very important to Iisha. She held her inaugural Back to School Vision Board party last year, encouraging young girls to chase their dreams and realize their potential. She also is involved with several mentoring programs. Iisha currently serves as the president of Hampton Roads Black Media Professionals, the local chapter of National Association of Black Journalists. She is also a member of the National Weather Association, American Meteorological Society, and Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, Incorporated. Iisha has also served as a keynote speaker for schools, community programs, and church services. When she's not forecasting the weather, Iisha enjoys traveling, trying new recipes, and spending time with her husband, family, and friends. The next voice you will hear is Miss Iisha Scott.
Thank you so much for having me this morning. Les reached out to me and I couldn't turn it down. You know what, being a part of any community event, I'm down for it. This is what I do, this is what I'm passionate about. And I always say my second passion besides weather is giving back to the community that gave so much to me. We have another pilot in the house, I just learned. I went to Norview High School and I actually ran track at Norview High School when I was there. I was born and raised in Norfolk, so I'm a local girl. So to be back home is a blessing. I've always wanted to forecast the weather back at home. Although I have to say forecasting the weather in the Mid-Atlantic can be tricky and really difficult. So, you know, viewers sometimes will hold me accountable, but it's okay. I had a dream when I was younger. I sound a little bit like Martin Luther King, I guess I started there. When I was younger, you know, I had a dream to be a broadcast meteorologist ever since I was 7. That's what I wanted to do. I didn't see a lot of women, especially African American women, on TV when I was growing up that were in that field. There was one woman, Vivian Brown, to this day. I miss her on TV. She worked for the Weather Channel for 30 years, and I grew up watching her, and I said, that's what I want to do. That's exactly what I want to do. And you know, at 7 years old, obviously, I don't even think I knew how to pronounce meteorologist at that point. I was just like, I want to be on TV given the weather. I've always loved weather. Thunderstorms, hurricanes, tornadoes, I loved it all. Especially growing up here, growing up in Norfolk, we get everything here. We get hurricanes, we get tornadoes, we get thunderstorms, we get snowstorms, we deal with drought, we deal with everything here. So this is the perfect market if you're interested in weather to really start to stir your interest. And when I went to middle school, I went to Rosemont Middle School, Terrace Creek Elementary School, and ended up in Norview. So when I was at Norview High School, I took my first science class, which was earth science. Absolutely loved it. Fell in love with it. Fell in love with learning about the clouds and how hurricanes form. I just loved it. And people thought I was weird because they're like, what child likes thunderstorms? It doesn't make sense. Like, where did this girl come from? And my mom, she would always say, if this is what you want to do, Go right ahead. And I've held that dream for a long time, ever since I was 7 years old. And I have people telling me that you don't see African American women in those fields. Or I have people telling me I should go on to be a nurse, or I should go on to be a teacher. There's nothing wrong with those professions. But I think people were coming from the stance that these are more common fields for African American women. And I said, no, this is what I want to do. I want to go into meteorology. I really want to go especially into television. Because as we all know, everything on TV nowadays doesn't really put us in the best image. So I figured if I could go into TV as a meteorologist, I could not only show young African American women that, hey, this is something positive that you can see. I look just like you. I didn't get that when I was growing up. And I went on to Norfolk State, behold the green and gold, Martin Theater. Absolutely loved Norfolk State. The experience that I got at Norfolk State University is unmatched. Unmatched. I went to the Weather Channel. That was the first time I went to the Weather Channel was at Norfolk State. I went to LA for a conference and we went to NBC Universal. We traveled so much at Norfolk State with the communications department. And at Norfolk State, I really was able to hone my speaking skills. I was able to really hone my TV skills as well in terms of speaking in front of people, how to put together stories. And it was just the best experience that I think I could have ever asked for. But you know, going through high school and going through college, I had challenges, just like you guys are dealing with. You know, I was not that good in math at all. And if you don't know, meteorology, we're not just on TV sticking our hand out the door saying, I think it's gonna rain today. That's not how it works. There's a lot of science involved. There's a lot of math involved. I had to take calculus 1, 2, 3, and differential equations. So we're talking advanced math classes, and I was not a good math student when I was in high school. And because of that, because I knew that I wanted to do meteorology and I had to really get better at math, I was in tutoring almost just as much as I was in school because I knew this is what I wanted to do. And I wasn't going to let a weakness being defined as not being all that good in math, I wasn't going to let that stop what I wanted to do. I love science. I had that part down, but the math, not so much. When I was at Northview, I had great tutors, I had great teachers. I did have one, not a teacher, I think she was more so like a student teacher or an assistant. And she said, Iisha, a meteorologist, what is that? Like, what do they do? Why do you want to do that? So I had people along the way telling me what I couldn't do or looking at me funny because what I wanted to do wasn't typical. And when I went to Norfolk State, I was also, I think, just about in tutoring more than I was in class because I took some of those extra math classes that I needed to get me to where I wanted to be. Now, Norfolk State and Mississippi State, two completely different worlds, I'll say. Norfolk State obviously is an HBCU, so I was around people who looked like me, and I was excited about it. When I went to Mississippi State, not only was I was maybe, in some of my meteorology classes, I was the only African American in some of my meteorology classes. So it was a challenge because I wasn't used to that. I went to Norby High School. I went to Rosemont Middle School. I went to Tanners Creek. I wasn't used to it, but just because I was uncomfortable, I didn't stop. And Mississippi State, my curriculum was nothing like Norfolk State. I had to take Physics 1, Physics 2, Calculus 1 through 3. I had to take differential equations. I had to take dynamic meteorology, thermodynamics. I had to take all of these hard, challenging science classes at Mississippi State. Did I want to quit? Of course I did. I would call my mom. If you ask her, she would say maybe 3 times a day. I say maybe 4 times a week. Because it was hard. It was so hard. Thermodynamics, do you have any idea what thermodynamics is?
No.
Okay, we're talking about the atmosphere and how air rises in the atmosphere. So you're calculating the rate at which air rises in the atmosphere. Basically, it's the just of thermodynamics. And these are hard classes. I wanted to quit multiple times. And my mom kept telling me, Iisha, this is something you wanted to do since you were 7 years old. are you really about to let a hard science class stop you from getting to your dream? And I kept going. Like I said, I was in tutoring just as much as I was in class, but I kept going and I stuck with that dream. I graduated from Mississippi State. I think it was probably one of the happiest days of my life graduating that curriculum, because I think so many people have a misconception about meteorologists. And a lot of people think that we just guess what the weather's gonna do. And it's a lot of science, it's a lot of math that goes into really figuring out the atmosphere. Are we right all the time? Of course not. Of course not. We're not God. That's what I like to say. We're not. But we're right most of the time. And from Mississippi State, I graduated and went on to Richmond. While I was in Richmond, I worked as, I did some of everything. Oh my goodness. I worked behind the scenes. I filled in on traffic. I was interning, so to speak, in weather. I did everything at that station. They knew me just as much as they knew anybody else. I was there when I was not supposed to be there. I stayed after a lot on weekends to work on my skill and to hone my craft. Because I was told, Iisha, in the beginning, you've got to pay your dues and you've got to be willing to work harder than anybody else. And that's what I did. And while I was at Richmond, I got the opportunity to fill in on traffic. So that was my first on-air weather job, if you will. Now, when I was going to Norfolk State University, I spoke to a girl who was a reporter in Memphis at the time. And she told me, she said, Iisha, you can't get into TV if you don't submit at least about 175 tapes. That's how many tapes it took her to get her first job. And I was like, 175 tapes? I'm not doing that. I don't have that type of time. I need a job like ASAP. And my first job, I sent out one tape. And that was it. When I was in Richmond, my news director, our sister station in Wilmington, they were starting a weekend morning show. And he said, you know somebody that's a meteorologist that's interested in helping us to launch our weekend morning show? And she said, yeah, I know somebody. But she knew me because I was always there. I was always there. After work, I stayed back for hours practicing on the green screen. I don't know how many of you have ever been to a TV station. Are you familiar with the green screen? Okay, so with the green screen, basically the way it works is what I'm looking at is completely opposite than what I'm doing. So if I'm putting up my right hand, it looks like I'm putting up my left hand. So at home, you're seeing me with my left hand up when my right hand is actually up. That's how it works. So it's like a mirror, basically. That's how you're watching yourself. And I would practice that thing all the time when I was in Richmond. So when the opportunity came for me to go to Wilmington, I was ready. I live by stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Okay? I was ready. I was ready to go. I had my tape together. I sent that tape and I got that job. And it didn't take me 175 tapes to send. I'm a firm believer in what's meant for you will come. Therefore, you don't have to fight or break other people down to get to where you're trying to go. From Wilmington, I spent 2 years in Wilmington. And I must say, although it was my first job, Wilmington was the hardest time of my life. And you're probably thinking, what? This is your first job? This is what you've always wanted to do? It was, but I was away from family. I had just gotten married, so I was away from my husband. But it challenged me because it was my first job. And for any of you who watch TV, just about all of us, what's the first thing when you see someone on TV that you usually, what comes to mind when you see someone on TV?
Their faces.
What comes to mind? You can be honest. What comes to mind? Her hair looks kind of crazy. She's missing one earring. None of that? Why did she pick that dress?
Yes.
Right. Those are the things that come to mind. You can be honest. And I dealt with that in Wilmington. That's why I say Wilmington was such a blessing for me, but it was the hardest time of my life. Because I wasn't quite prepared for the criticism that came with TV. I was prepared weather-wise. I was good to go with the speaking, and I thought I was ready. And I was. But I got so much criticism because my hair, and I got criticism because I was the first African-American woman at that station in about 20 years, doing weather. So the criticism and the backlash that I received, I wanted to quit again. I was like, I don't know if I should be doing this. Or maybe I should go back home. But I didn't let it stop me. You know, people are just mean. People are nasty. And it helped me. My former boss in Wilmington, he always told me, Iisha, you've got to have thick skin for this business. TV is not friendly. And if you want to make it and you want to be successful in TV, you've got to develop thick skin. And I realized, looking back on it, that I've had this dream since I was 7. But in order to go through the things or get to where you're trying to be, you're going to be tested. Because you need to see how bad you really want it. If there's something that you want, say for instance, you want to be a nurse. And the second somebody says to you, you can't do that. And you're like, oh, maybe I can't do that. You don't really want it. You only really want it when you're able to face the challenges that it takes to get to it, right? And overcome those challenges. And that's what Wilmington helped me to do. It helped me to overcome the naysayers. It helped me to, now I must say I was on YouTube because one morning this lady said my makeup was horrible. So I went home and I was like, okay, let me start looking at some makeup tutorials. And I think I did pretty good today, I don't know. But it helped me so much. So it was the worst time of my life, but it was the best time of my life because it strengthened me. And in order to get to where you're trying to go, you're going to be tested. You're going to be tested on if you really want it. And it's only through those moments that if you overcome it or want to overcome it, that you can really say that I'm now successful at what I'm doing. Because what do you think I do now when I get crazy comments? For instance, prime example, this dress today. When I wore this dress on air for the first time, this lady said it looked like a checkerboard. I like the dress, but I can see where she's going with it, you know? And what do you think I do now? And do you think I crack as much under pressure as I used to? No. Now I'm kind of like, okay, thanks for your comment. Have a great Saturday. You know? So it's strengthened me. It helped to really build my muscles to handle this journey. Now, when I was in Wilmington, I told you it was the worst time of my life, but it was the best time of my life. Okay, I was in Wilmington for 2 years. And this is where I really started relying on my faith through this whole journey. But I think the most in Wilmington. I was away from my husband for 2 years. We got married in August. I got my first job in September. And my husband said, I'm not moving to Wilmington. So I'm going to stay right here and we'll commute every 2 weeks. And that's what we did. We were back and forth every 2 weeks. So I said, okay, I've got to get out of Wilmington. I can't. So what did I do? I hired an agent. We got tapes together. We started sending out stuff everywhere. My agent asked, where are the top 3 places that you would go? And I said, my number 1 place is back home in Hampton Roads. That's where I want to go. That's a part of the dream that I've had for myself. It was on my vision board. I make a vision board every year. It was on my vision board. And he said, okay, where are 2 other places? I said, Florida and California. You're probably thinking, California? That's far. My mom said, you're not going to California. It's too far. Those are my top 3 places. And where did I interview? Florida, West Palm Beach, Florida, and I interviewed in Fresno, California. And I say that because when I interviewed in West Palm Beach, Florida, my husband, his brother lives in Miami. And so we were really excited. We were like, we're about to go to West Palm Beach. We're going to be chilling on South Beach with margaritas and everything else. We were excited. But at the last minute, that station actually had a hiring freeze. So they said, we're not bringing on anybody else for at least 3 months. And I thought to myself, do you mean to tell me this dream that I've had since I was 7 years old is going to just stop in North Carolina? I just could not believe that. I was like, this cannot be true. But I knew I didn't want to stay in North Carolina. So I said, okay. I prayed about it. I said, I'm going to go back home. My husband's home, my family's home. I'll deal with it when I get home. I was set to leave Wilmington on a Friday. This was Wednesday. I'm at work, looking at jobs at work. Don't do that. But I was at work. I was at work looking at other jobs, and I said, okay, I've got to get back home. I came across an opening at Channel 13, and I thought to myself, this job is for me. I didn't say it out loud, but I thought, this job is for me. I applied for it right at work. 30 minutes later, the news director called me. And I'm in the bathroom at work. And he was like, when are you supposed to come back? And I said, I'm set to move back home on Friday. I was leaving North Carolina on Friday. And he said, well, can you come and interview when you get here on Friday? I was like, of course I can interview when I got here Friday. I left early Friday morning. I got back home at like about 1 or 2, and I did an interview at 4 o'clock on that Friday, and they hired me Tuesday. So things, when I tell you, when there's something that you want, a dream that you have, hold on to that dream. You've got to be willing to stay prepared, because when opportunities come, they come like that. And that's been the sort of the sequence or the common string through my journey. It's been tough. I've gotten criticism, but the opportunities have always come so quickly. And that's why I live by stay ready. You don't have to get ready. Stay on top of your schoolwork. Stay on top of your math and science classes. So when opportunities come, you don't have to quickly try to pull up a grade. You're set, you're ready to go. I've been, it'll be 3 years at Channel 13 in October, and I'm having the time of my life. I absolutely love what I do. It's always what I wanted to do. But now, along with meteorology, my passion is inspiring really young women to go into fields that aren't as common. So broadcast meteorology. There aren't a lot of African American women in this field. And I want to show young girls, and inspire young girls and young boys, don't be so quick to go on the path that everyone else is going on. And I think that's been a common message here. Go on the path that's least traveled and create your own path. Because when I talk to so many young girls, when I held my vision board party last year, vision boards, I cannot begin to tell you. How many of you create vision boards? Any of you? Okay. I cannot begin to tell you the importance of a vision board. I have it as my screensaver because it has power. There's something about writing down your dreams, seeing them every day, and then watching them come to pass. I create a vision board every year. Do I want to stop in Hampton Roads? Not necessarily. But this was on my vision board. And I just checked it off. And I've got more stuff to check off. So stay encouraged, believe in your dreams, believe in yourself. Don't let anybody try to take you off the path that you want to be on. And make sure that when you get there, that you're pulling other people up along with you. Don't get there and think, oh, I made it, it's all about me now, because it's not. I truly believe that we get to where we are so that we can pull people up with us. And don't forget, create your own path. Don't go the path that everybody else is walking on. I always find that it's more fun anyway. When you're doing something that really hardly anybody else is doing. All right, so stay encouraged, dream big. Like I said, I love what I do. Maybe, I don't know, I'll go to New York one day, we'll see where that goes. But stay encouraged and dream big. Thank y'all for having me.